Dean Bartoli.
Thank you. We have just 36 minutes before the panel ends, and I think that my slides are slightly too long. So I'll skip the slides, give them to IMTD. If anyone is interested, you can have them. They are free of charge, and I just skip that part of my talk. And just respond to what John and Louise just have presented. First, to thank John for his thanks. It's nice to be recognized as the Dean of the School for Conflict Analysis and Resolution. And thank you, Louise, for reminding us of the Alliance. But thank you also for reminding me of the role that the school has done with USIP, with the Alliance, with IMTD as an incubator. And when Louise is in many ways inviting us the future that is coming, I feel that for the school there is a role to play in making sure that that future is actually more than what we can imagine. And I can tell you this because I was part of that future in 1992 when I came to this country as an immigrant that didn't speak English. I'm still a little uncertain. My accent reveals that I'm actually Italian. And as Howard knows very well, I'm actually here not as an academic, but because I was, and I am, proudly part of an NGO that happened to be mediating the peace in Mozambique. This is why I wanted to speak about that today. Sant'Egidio was, for whatever reason, able to negotiate for 28 months the peace in Mozambique. One of the reasons the peace in Mozambique worked is because the Americans were supportive all throughout. One of the reasons why the Americans were supportive all throughout is because they had a mental map in their head that what was happening in Rome was okay. And the reason they thought that it was okay is because somebody had written this book. I didn't know John MacDonald then, but when Jeff David Dow at the US conference that I first attended in July 1992 said in front of everybody, this is the first track 1 process led by a track 2, my jaw dropped. I literally didn't know what he was saying. My English was broken, but even this idea of track 1, track 2, I literally had no idea what he was saying. But to everybody in the room, this is July 92, this is 6 months before the agreement is signed. He was explaining, this is a senior diplomat in the State Department, explaining to his people, this is what we are doing, why we are doing this, because it makes sense to us. Well, America is a funny place, I can tell you. I was sent to America with one piece of advice by Giulio Andreotti, and I said, you know, we need to speak with the Americans, and he said, who? Americans who? Which one? Because the secret of many that thought that track 1 is 1 is that actually track 1 is 9 or 25 or 72. You need to speak with a lot of people to get track 1. What you said about the conference before is a very interesting thing. To have an interagency coordination is an extraordinarily complicated thing to do. So what Jeff David Dow was saying to everybody, DOD, the intelligence community, look, this is okay. We are allowing this to happen. Well, that was an interesting responsibility they took. Cameron Hume had his own share. I think it's very important. But I think that when Howard Wolpe came back to Sant'Egidio, not as a scholar, but as a politician doing work for the American government, he knew that he could speak with Sant'Egidio in a way that he could not speak with others. Wasn't that true? What you have, and in this sense I really say you as Americans, or what we have as somebody that as an Italian was welcome in this country and found his American dream. Becoming a dean in less than 20 years, learning the English that I needed to be a dean. I still need to learn how to read and write, but at least I can talk at least. Huh? What we have is the synergy that creates something new. Howard was a professor, became a politician, got into government, got out of government, got out into government again. I don't know in which capacity you will speak today.
Retired.
Retired. But John McDonnell is retired, but he's 89 years old and he's going around the world inviting peace. I like that. I like to think myself, 89 years old, inviting peace, track 1, track 2, track 9, multi-stakeholder, system thinking, everyone is welcome. This is the America I like. This is the America that many people around the world are looking for leadership. In Cairo today, in Egypt, in Tunisia. It's an America that is not afraid of the future. It's an America that is not afraid of diversity. It's an America that is not afraid of dissonance, but actually is able to say, in dissonance, there is something that I need to pay more attention to. I'm delighted that Tom Dine from Search for Common Ground is here because, full disclosure, I'm also in the board of Search for Common Ground, but is that dissonance is not bad for us. Dissonance is good in system thinking. Dissonance is what we need. It is when we want to get rid of the dissonance that we get in trouble. It is when we want to get rid of the diversity that we get the genocide. So we heard many times divide and conquer. But what you hear from John and Louise is unite and govern. And you tell me if that's not true since the beginning of time. That the one that were able to govern were the one that were able to unite. Unite the different one. Unite the dissonant one. Unite the one that were not able to talk. And what I see is that this multi-track osmosis within the U.S. government, between U.S. government and the other governments, between governments and all tracks, is actually coming alive when we have peace processes. This is why I wanted to talk today about Mozambique. Because in Mozambique, I witnessed peace coming. And I witnessed it for a country of 12 million people, of which a million were killed by the war. I'm not speaking about a minor conflict. I'm speaking about a conflict where 4.5 million to 5 million were either refugees or internally displaced people. So these are mastodontic human suffering measures. After 16 years of civil war of that magnitude, Mozambicans are capable of coming together, talk to one another again, and say in 28 months, this is the country we are going to build. I really would like to invite, until I die, everybody who hears this story to bow to the capacity, creativity, patience, honor, dignity of the Mozambicans. That were able to see themselves in this shell given by the former colonial power and say, you know what, this is not a shack, this is not a residue of history, this is our country. We got what we got. But this is us, and we want to make it work. And when I see Steve and Howard working in that region, I see helping leadership and local communities say to themselves, I got what I got. My story is this story. But what should I do? Should I just curse all my life that this is what I got and so genocide myself all the time? Or should I just make it work? And I think that that's what happened in Mozambique. The Mozambicans themselves took the lead, and the Americans let it be. The Italians helped. Sant'Egidio served. The French went along. The Portuguese wanted to be in the driving seat, and they said, no, not now, maybe later. We will. The UN was late. But in the end, everything worked because there were people like you committed to the idea that in the end, humans can make it. That we can understand peace at the end of very violent, difficult processes. That we can make it happen. So what I told John the other day at National Defense University when I was presenting is that What I didn't realize before is that not only he prepared with Luis, with Joe Montfield, the American leadership to understand what was happening, gave the frameworks, but in many ways gives me today, as a researcher, as an intellectual, as a scholar, a way to look back at peace processes and ask the question, I know for sure that in Mozambique the process was successful because it was multi-track. Because as Hank Cohen said, we spoke with everyone. So my intuition, my hunch, is that when things work is because they are multi-track. That if they are not multi-track, they are not going to work. And one of the reasons Oslo didn't work, because it was not deeply multi-track. The people did not come on board, there was no capacity for that, and so on. So I have a research project. I'm an academic. I have a school. I have a lot of people working with me. I have these questions. Can we do a comparative peace process study that looks at multi-track diplomacy and tells us, is it true what I'm having this hunch that the only way to work is actually that. It's not the other way around. It's not just that we need to invite ourselves to this, that, well, maybe. It's that unless we do it, we will not get it. So I invite you to this new emergent reality, thinking that if I have a word, if I have a direction for the school that I'm leading these days, is relational responsibility. I think that in a world that is as it is, we have to have the intellectual courage, the political capacity, but also the commitment to one another to truly embody relational responsibility. Thank you.